Welcome back guys to Man Not Reacts. In this video you'll be seeing Jillian Michaels, the woman on the right, completely destroying and exposing the woman on the left, Julie Roginski. I guess that's what her name is. She's a Democratic strategist. Let's start the video without wasting any time from now.
He's gone into the Smithsonian and he's effectively now has some random person deciding what is appropriate for the Smithsonian to teach in terms of American history, things that don't offend parts of the MAGA base, right? So we're now literally reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with dear leader and what the MAGA
Can we
organization
address
wants.
some of those things that are in there? Because have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Yeah, slavery was a bad thing that we should talk about.
Okay.
Like,
he's not whitewashing slavery. So
he's not?
He's not. No,
okay.
he's not. And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race.
Please remember this point, the point just you made, that you cannot tie slavery and imperialism to just one race. That's the point. That's the argument. And now you'll see how they try to, exploit it.
Which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you look
at slavery,
let's talk about the fact.
Slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were
Do you know
the slave
who
owners.
was the first race to try to end slavery?
Wait a second.
Well,
This guy, I don't think this guy understood or heard anything she said, and it's the first time someone actually, said something about, against whites, against his thinking of like all white people are bad, and now when someone actually is talking about that, you could see it on his face, like it's the first time someone has actually argued against his beliefs.
I'm very surprised.
This is an extraordinary exercise in historical revisionism.
I'm really surprised.
Do you realize that
Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and
you could see, they're trying to exploit her argument as, remember the point, imperialism and slavery is not, you should not just tie it to one race. That's the argument.
What I'm trying to tell you is
in
that
the context of American history.
Okay.
In the context of American history, what are you saying is incorrect by saying that it was white people oppressing black people?
Every single thing is like, oh, no, this is all because white people bad. And that's just not the truth. Like, for example, every single exhibit, I have a list of every single one. Like, people migrated from Cuba because white people bad. Not because of Castro. Yes, no, it's in there. That's what I'm saying. You don't actually know what's in there. Do you know that when you walk in the front door, the first thing you see is the gay flag?
Jillian, you have a lot of stuff in front of you.
Yeah, I do,
what
because
exactly
I don't, because here's the thing.
Are you talking about?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Again, they interrupt you, so you lose your point. And then you have to think again, or, that's what happens. They just interrupt you. That's their tactic.
Yeah, please.
There's one called Change Your Game, right? This has been an installation there. Is gender testing fair in sports? Does that, and then it goes on to talk about how it's complex to do gender testing in sports. It's not complex. It's basic science. That's untrue. It's XX chromosome, XY chromosome. That's sports. Is it fair to have biological men competing against biological women in sports? No. But why is this in the Smithsonian? So it's been completely captured.
First of all, I don't.
And
think
it's totally partisan.
We don't. First of all, we don't have time to litigate all of this.
Of course we don't, because then you're going to lose the argument.
No.
Everything is racialized, just like you're trying to do to me now.
Excuse me.
It's like, I can't believe you're trying to suggest, that slavery is a good thing.
Just to be clear, you brought up race.
No.
Just to be clear, she did not brought up race. Matter of fact, the Democratic strategist, Julie Roginski, did. We could even go back, a couple shots behind. You could see who actually did. Let's see.
Smithsonian, he's effectively now has some random person deciding what is appropriate for the Smithsonian to teach in terms of American history, things that don't offend parts of the MAGA base, right? So we're now literally reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with dear leader and what the MAGA
Can we address
wants.
some of those things that are in there? Because have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Yeah, slavery was a bad thing that we should talk about.
Okay.
Like, he's
not whitewashing slavery. So
he's not?
He's not. No,
okay.
He's not. And
slavery was a bad thing to talk about. She did brought up slavery.
You cannot talk.
Let's go back to our argument.
And you brought
I
up the
actually
question
didn't.
of whether
You did.
You brought up
And
the
my
question
point-
of whether or not slavery in the United States is about race. The answer is
No, I didn't.
yes.
Again, yeah, as I said, her point was not, that slavery in the United States is not about race or is about race. She just said, don't tie everything, the imperialism and slavery, to one race. There's different arguments if you understand it. She's just saying in the context of, like the whole world has slaves. There were many tribes that owned slaves. There were Africans who owned slaves. There were Indians who owned slaves. There were Greece, people in Greece owned slaves. People, Romans owned Romans. There were different concepts of slavery. Like people used to be slaves until they got freed. That was probably base of in some Roman places. And there were so many different ways people became slave. There were various rituals you have to complete before you become a free man in the free world in their tribe. And so basically her point was that these things were not just happening in US, but they were happening from thousands of years in other tribes too. So to say that it's all white people's fault when white people didn't even started it was because it was happening everywhere, it's not fair to say it's just white people's fault. And to be honest, they were the ones who stopped it, in my opinion. So you kind of have to give them credit for that too. But not, she did not. It's called association fallacy. If I say I support Palestine and I don't want people to die, I just say I don't want people in Palestine to die. That doesn't mean that I hate the IDF and I don't like Israel. People will just assume the opposite instantly. All right, I might say I think that this policy of Trump is amazing. People might just assume I'm a Trump fan and totally like, you must be hating the liberals. You must be hating, all the opposite candidate like Kamala Harris or anything. Even though people do hate, but like, people associate so fast like, oh, just because you like this, you must hate this. So when she says, well, I think these are the facts, they completely go opposite and they're like, oh, you must be saying that, white people are not the one who did the bad things to black people. Are you denying that? No, she didn't. She just told you the facts. No, they don't understand. Like,
I
Slavery
did not say
in the
that.
United States
don't
is
straw man
about
my argument
race.
because that's
again, she called her out. Don't strawman her argument. But they won't understand. That's the problem. They just like to talk and not listen.
not what I said.
So what are
she
you
brought
talking
up
about?
slavery. And what I was talking about is that this isn't really about that. When you make every single exhibit about white imperialism when it isn't relevant at all, that is a problem. So when you're talking about Cubans leaving Cuba and you make it about white people bad, that's not accurate.
Good. She has given more argument than just about racism, and that makes a lot of sense. I think she completely exposed these people.
That's my point.
Well, I think she completely, exposed them and totally destroyed their argument. But they just wouldn't accept it because that's what they do. And I don't understand why the host Abby Phillips acts as a center left person on the panel. I think she should be neutral and she should be, engaging in a manner that as a host does. But she doesn't do it. But whatever, I think at this pace they wouldn't call Jillian Michaels again because, she is exposing them and she's calling them out on their face on live TV, and that's not good. They might not be calling her again, but whatever. This was it for the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care everyone, and bye-bye.